I'm Cameron Adams, one of the co-founders of Canva and Chief Product Officer there, and I'm here to share my journey with the people here at Entrepreneurs in Conversation. And my biggest business learning is the importance of team.
How did you go about, self-promotion? Because when you start a business, no one sort of generally knows too much about you or your services or your product offering. What were some of the key steps that you took there that you think might have helped you sort of get well known and start to receive work coming in?
I'd say I was a pretty horrible business person at that stage. I knew nothing about business. I invoiced people and paid GST, and that was about all I knew. So most of the work I came through other people. So doing good for work for them, they'd refer me to friends. And also, at the time, I was writing my own blog, which is actually very helpful in hindsight, in sort of getting my name out in technology circles and becoming known for doing design and technology simultaneously, which helped me get quite a few jobs. And also landed me some book deals, which again kind of put me higher within technical circles and got me a few jobs that way.
An opportunity came up with Google. Can you tell us how that came up, and I guess the special project or the secret project that you're actually working on with Google?
Yeah, that was, again, I use the word interesting a lot, but that was really interesting. I'd moved up to Sydney to be with my girlfriend, who's now my wife, and simultaneously I got a call from Google, and I'd actually previously interviewed at Google before and not gotten anywhere, so been rejected, not good enough. And I got a call from Lars Rasmussen. Well, not actually him, it was his product manager, Carl. And those two had been working on Google Maps. So if you don't know, the Sydney office in Google is only there because of Google Maps. It was started up because the Maps team was there. And this was about 5 years or so after Maps had been started. So it was, big success. Lars was looking for the next thing to do at Google. And that next thing happened to be a communications project called Google Wave. It was a very secret project. No one inside Google knew about it. Even in the Sydney office, it was kept very secret from everyone else. The team of 3 original people was locked in this boardroom that was entirely blacked out. No one could see inside. It was incredibly sweaty in there. And they were looking for a designer to help them refine the experience of it. And they weren't having any luck. So they got wind of my name and were looking for a contract designer, and that was kind of my backdoor into Google. So I worked on that project for 2 months, helped them get a rough skin around the application, and they took that application to Larry and Sergey in Mountain View and said, "What do you think? Can we get a team for this?" And they were like, "Yep, looks great." And they also said, "Who did the design for it?" And they're like, "Oh, this guy in Sydney." And they're like, "Hire him." So that's how you get into Google with no interview. Someone introduced us to a journalist at Fairfax. We said, cool, this could be some good promo, and we'll go talk to him and tell him our launch date, and he can put the article out and be all good. We'll get ready-made audience. So we went and chatted to him. It's a great interview, gave him our story, ex-Googlers. Every journalists love an ex-Googler story, so if you ever want to start a business, start it with an ex-Googler. And yeah, went away from that feeling really good. 5 days later, got an email from him and he's like, "Story's launching tomorrow." We're like, we're totally not ready for this. But it launched anyway. Within a week, we had 60,000 people signed up for our waiting list. Along with the hordes of users wanting to use the service, we also got a lot of investor interest. This ranged from bizarre Russian figures just emailing you out of the blue saying they represent a wealthy family to people you've actually heard from TechCrunch and Silicon Valley firms. And we chatted to them a bit, did a few phone conversations, and we thought, okay, this is going to be pretty easy. We've got lots of attention on us, investors are really interested. We're going to go to Silicon Valley for 3 days, talk to these people, sign some deals, come back, keep building the product. We ended up, 2 of us went over, we spent 3 months in San Francisco, just going up and down Sand Hill Road, meeting people, meeting more people, pitching people. We slept in the car in a shopping mall one day. It's just, yeah, the pitching process is insane, and I'm pretty happy I don't have to do it for Canva. But it, again, taught me a vast amount about technology companies and getting investment and the traditional way of startup life. 3 months from the end of Fluent, Lars again put me in contact with these two people from Perth, and they're quite young. They're like, I think they were 24 at the time. And I'm like, okay, I'll go chat to these people about why their Flash app is horrible. A couple months later, as we were winding up Fluent, their idea kind of stuck in my head, and it's something I've been passionate about for a while, empowering people to be creative, people you wouldn't normally associate with being creatives. So I double backed them and said, hey, how are you doing? And they were like, yeah, we need someone to join the team, technically and help us out build this product. So I'm like, great, let's do it together. And that's kind of how Canva started.
Because you were saying that there's a design created every second, and I'm not sure whether anyone's actually given much thought as to how many seconds there are in a day, but there's 86,400 seconds in a day. So there's at least this many designs being created on the Canva application every single day, which is just mind-blowing. I mean, so I guess where we just left off was, you I guess agreed to start Canva. I mean, how do you go from starting Canva to that sort of traction where you've got a design being created on your platform every second?
It's very simple, Ben. You just build it and then they come. Yeah, it's like, I think you don't really think about that when you're building it. You just have this idea or a product that you want to get out into the world, and you have this vague sense that it could be successful and that it might be useful to people. You're not certain about that, so there's no certainty in any of this. So you build it to the best of your abilities and put it out into the world, and hopefully it receives some attention. We definitely didn't bolt out of the gate and with the darlings of the startup world when we first launched. I think we've learned every time we launch something, you get super excited about the launch, and it feels like 5 million people are going to descend on your product that day. But in reality, that doesn't happen. It's just kind of a very soft splash. Mm-hmm. And then you have to put in the time working on the product and refining the product and figuring out how to get more people to your product. And it slowly grows and slowly adds up until one day you just turn around and it's this crazy number of like 700,000 designs being created a week.
Yeah, so when you started then, did you have a very detailed business plan about what your marketing strategy was going to be, what your distribution channels were going to be, what was your value proposition, who was your core target audience? I mean, did you give much thought to all those things, or was it mainly about the product going, no, look, we know that we can create this cool product, and because we're going to create this cool product, people will just naturally be attracted to it once they hear about it?
50-50. I'd say, we're very product focused at Canva, and creating a great experience for our users is probably the core of what we want to do. But we definitely didn't go into it blind. Particularly when you're pitching to investors, you have to have a good story about here's how big the market is, here's who we're targeting, here's what your money is going to do for us, and be able to track where you're going to go and what targets you're going to hit. I think the key thing with the startup is that you're always learning and you're always improving. Yeah, so I mean, we always try to keep Canva very friendly and almost like a family. So you got to have as much fun time as you do work time. Well, not equal amounts, bit of fun time.
What would be, I guess, the biggest learnings you've had? I mean, you've had a very interesting, I think, career to date, and I think Canva's just going to continue to do great and wonderful things. I mean, what's probably the top three, I guess, biggest learnings or observations that I guess you'd love to share with everyone here?
I think definitely the top one that you can take anywhere, any company, is the importance of the team and building the team, and how important it is to have great people working around you. Not just great people, but great people that you work well with. There's a lot of great people in the world, but whether they fit into your team is a different question. And it's really, particularly when you're a fast-growing startup, it's often tempting to just take someone who looks good on paper, but mightn't necessarily be a great fit for your company. Mm. But ultimately, that's going to end in tears. So it's always better to wait for exactly the right person, someone who has great skills and also buys into your vision and can help the company achieve what it wants to achieve. So that would be lesson number one. Lesson number two for me personally has been how unimportant design is. So as a designer, this is kind of a hard thing to realize. Don't get me wrong, design is important, but designers tend to think that design is all that matters. And that's something that we thought on Fluent. It was all about the experience and how wonderful the experience was, and how people were going to love using our application. Problem is, when you do that, you neglect to pay yourself a wage or figure out how the company can actually run more than 6 months. So figuring out that business aspect in harmony with the product and the design is vitally important if you actually want to make a company, not just a product. Probably the third biggest thing I would have to say is partnering with the right people at the start.
Okay.
So having a great team around you is important, but like that seed team, the people that you call your founders that you want to build the company with, making sure that you all complement one another and work well together and communicate well together. I think that's vital to the product, it's vital to the company, and it's vital to the culture of the company. Because essentially you're like the base template from which the entire company grows. So having that right at the start enables you to grow a great company.
Awesome. Well, thanks very much for sharing those insights, Cam, and I hope everyone here got something out of Cam's background, experiences, learnings, and could take that away and apply it, I guess, to your own journey. So thanks very much, Cam.
Thanks, Ben.
Thank you.